Welcome to the Unstuck and Happy podcast. We all get stuck, but how long you stay there is up to you. I'm your host, John Polish, founder of the Unstuck Happiness Conference. And this is the show where we interview people who've overcome tremendous adversity and have emerged as leaders. So if you need a little inspiration and hope in your day, get ready, because here comes another great Unstuck story. Well, hello. I'm really excited to bring another great Unstuck story, or in this case, stories, to us. And excited about our guest today. She is very inspirational and is going to have a lot to share with us. Welcome, Brandie.
Absolutely. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
So tell us real quick, first of all, what is it that you're up to these days?
Well, right now I am quarantined with a 3-year-old, so you can just imagine how fun that is. But on the professional side, I'm doing quite a few different things right now. I'm actually helping several speakers build their brand, helping with creating apps, creating courses, updating their website, really just anything low-hanging fruit, I like to call it, that can help you really just take off once this quarantine's over and we can get back to speaking on stage.
Very cool. And you do some speaking yourself, don't you?
I do, yes. Obviously not right now, but I do speak on customer service and resiliency, and just try to mirror the two together and bring one happy-go-lucky speech to all the audiences I can.
So I'm going to stay away from customer service for a minute. And, let's dive into the resiliency real quick.
Yes, that's my bread and butter.
And I believe that we become experts at something because at one point in our lives, we desperately need it, right?
Correct. I would agree with that.
So why resiliency with you?
Man, resiliency started when I was actually, before I was even born, which is kind of crazy to think about, but I was born with a chronic condition called bilateral club feet. So essentially my feet were completely deformed to the point that they were almost unrecognizable. So at 5 days old, I had surgery on my feet, and they were essentially man-made feet. So they tried to put the bones back where they could, the muscles where they could. But essentially, I mean, they were still deformed feet. They put me in casts, and I had casts until I was 2. And the doctor, told my mom, she's never going to walk. She's going to be in a wheelchair the rest of her life. And I was so strong as a child that when I would go get my cast changed every couple of weeks, my mom had to actually put morphine in a bottle to make me not resist them changing my cast. And I know that sounds horrible, but the doctors, obviously told her to do this. And it was something that I knew inside of me that I was going to walk. And when I was 2 years old, I learned to walk in casts. And I've been running ever since and still run today. I do a lot of half marathons, things like that. And, when I was in school, it was something that having to overcome being bullied of, hey, you're pigeon-toed and, do you trip when you walk? And I do. I'm very clumsy. But, you gotta make the best of what you can. And I found a love for sports. And when I was younger, my mom, she's like, if you want to play boys sports, then you're going to have to play like the boys. And that's what I did. I played baseball. I played hockey, and I still play hockey to this day. And it was something that I've always had to overcome because of the pain in my feet. I remember in high school, I was in marching band, and we did a concert up in Flagstaff, Arizona. And my feet hurt so bad. I was in tears the entire performance. I don't even think I played, to be honest with you. I was just in such great pain. And we went to the doctors, and I had to start getting cortisone shots on my feet twice a week. And if you've ever gotten a cortisone shot, I don't care where it is, it hurts like heck. So it's just been something that I've always had to overcome, and I'm still dealing with it today at 30 years old.
Yeah, I used to coach football and would get plantar fasciitis quite a bit, and would have a cortisone shot in a foot, and it's fun.
It's
but it's better than the pain. It beats the pain ahead of time.
It is, and it would get to a point where the cortisone will only last for maybe 18 hours, and then I go right back again, and it just became a normal for me. And then fast forward a little bit, my senior year of high school, I decided to join the Navy. And the recruiter, obviously, they go through your medical history, and I told them I had bilateral club feet, and they said, well, that's an automatic disqualification. I said, okay. sounds good. Came back the next day and I said, can you ask me my medical questions again? And he did. And I did not disclose that information. So when I went down to what we call MEPS, which is the military processing unit, you go down there, they, do a full body scan, check to make sure you're healthy. And there's this old gentleman there and you have to do what they call a duck walk. And that's where they really look at your feet and see if you're flat footed, because if you have flat feet, you cannot be in the service. And the doctor calls me in and he's like, your feet look pretty flat. And I said, nope. Said they're totally fine, just normal feet. And he asked me, he said, do you have problems with them? Absolutely not. And of course, I'm lying straight through my teeth. And so in my mind, I'm like, he sees right through me. There's no way he's going to let me go. I mean, you can legit just look at my feet and see that they are not normal feet. And he approved me. And I ended up doing just over 7 years in the Navy. Did a couple tours overseas, and it's been a whirlwind. I've had a few surgeries since I joined the service, and it's been an everyday and overcoming thing, and especially right now where we're quarantined, I just want to run. And so you can just imagine how sore my feet are right now.
So we can do a whole episode on how thorough the military is, I guess.
Yes, we absolutely could. And thankfully I'm out now, so there's no repercussion right now. But, I think too, and I will speak to the guy who did approve me, is I think he saw my drive, and there was nothing that I was going to let stand in my way. And all the exercises that he had me do, I could do them successfully. So I think looking at that, he probably made the decision of, okay, it's obviously not, she's not allowing it to affect her the way that it probably should be.
So the drive is something I want to come back to.
Yes.
Before that though, you were born with this, right?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
So at what point did you realize that this was an adversity you were going to have to overcome? Because obviously born with it, you probably had been dealing with it your whole life and didn't know anything different.
Yeah, there was one instance that sticks in my mind that I will never forget. I was in the 3rd grade and I was going to try out for the baseball team. And it was just like a little club team, but when you're in 3rd grade, that's a big deal. And I remember I was walking on this hill and this kid comes up to me. He's like, your feet are funny. There's no way you're playing baseball. And I said, what? Like, no, they're fine. I'm totally fine. But it stuck with me, even though I acted strong. It broke me down. I went home and I cried my eyes out because I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. I have funny feet. Like, this kid told me I couldn't do it. And the next day I went in and tried out for the team and I actually made the team as a pitcher. And so from that point, and that will always stick with me, it's like, no matter what anybody else says to you, if you believe that you can do it, you can absolutely do it. And I still stand by that today.
Yeah, I think it's funny. As kids, we believe we can do pretty much anything, and it's up to the other people in our lives to, I guess, bring us down and try to convince
Absolutely.
us we can't, right?
Yes.
So the resilience, where that attitude that you weren't going to give up, that you were going to persevere, where did that come from?
I honestly don't know. It's something that I have a unique ability, and I'll say unique because the more people I talk to, I find out that not everybody has this. But when I am in a situation, no matter how bad it is, and I've been in some really rough ones, I am able to sit back, look and say, okay, what are the possible outcomes in this? I could say, you know what, yeah, my feet are different and I can't play, and put that negativity out there, and that's what I would live by. Or I can say, hey, my feet hurt a little bit, but I'm not making more damage done to my feet, so why not live through the pain if this is something that I truly like? And so I have that ability to just sit back and say, which road do I want to take, knowing that whatever decision I make is going to have a different outcome. So I think that's where my resilience comes in, to be able to just say, hey, this is what I want to do. What's the worst case scenario that can happen if I do this? Okay, my feet hurt for a while. Perfect. I can handle that.
And I think that's great, because that is actually where I wanted to go with this next. That whole idea of essentially choosing, or in some cases pivoting, when what you want is no longer available. That seems, to some of us, that seems natural, but for a lot of people who find themselves stuck, it's the difference between somebody who's really successful and everyone else is that the people who are successful just look at a situation, pivot and move on. And the rest of us are staring at it going, well, why me? Why did this happen? And trying
Yeah,
to figure out. So that actually has helped you in other areas of your life.
absolutely. Now I'm no angel, and sometimes when things happen, it does take me a little bit to say, okay, what am I going to do? And I'm human and will sometimes fall victim to why me. But if you live there and you stay there, you're never going to go anywhere. So I try to limit that, and I'm very cautious of that, because I don't like that negativity, and it festers with you, whether you want to believe it or not. Like it, will affect anything that you try to do, if you are living in that negative mindset.
Yeah, when things don't work out the way we want, it's very easy and very comforting to be able to find a place to put the blame
Yes, absolutely.
rather than looking at your different options and saying, where can I go from here?
Hmm. Oh, absolutely.
And one thing that I know you and I have in common is that we both have faced another bout of adversity right before this coronavirus quarantine hit.
Yes. Yeah. It's been tough.
Yeah. But it sounds like you have found another avenue, something to focus on and keep you busy, keep you motivated.
I have. I had to have a real heart to heart with myself. I did spiral into a small depression last year. I lost three of my grandparents in less than 18 months, and it really, really took a toll on me to the point that I didn't realize it was taking a toll, because I'm the happy-go-lucky person, and oh no, it's fine. Like this is all part of life. It's fine. And then it got to the point where I couldn't push those feelings down anymore. And I had to be honest with myself and look myself in the mirror and say, what are you doing? Why are you unhappy in your life right now? And I mean, it took me a while, to be honest with you. And I finally, the beginning of this year, I realized, I said, you know what? I want to help people. How can I help people? Maybe, being up on stage is helping some people, but what can I do right now to help people? And that's where I turned into this little business I got going on, where I'm helping people generate income in their business by doing, passive income stuff. And I love that. And I see the fruits of my labor every day. And it's been such a blessing. But I needed to hit that low point to be able to do this.
That's great, because a lot of people will hit that and again, not do anything,
Oh,
especially when it comes to
absolutely.
grief, because it's not like you have your choice isn't to be with this person or not be with this person. That's no longer an option.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost, but you do have that choice. You have that choice to sit in it or to turn and go another direction.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a
Absolutely.
lot of people look at it as, well, I don't have a choice, but you really do.
You have a choice in everything. And I mean, even when things are, oh, this is final, no, it's not. You can always turn your life around. We have in our family, we have a lot of addiction, stuff like that, and I've seen firsthand, you can come out of any situation, obviously unless somebody kills you, but like if you are in that, you find yourself in that deep dark place, like find help. You can find out. I went to the VA and they helped me, which I'll give kudos to the VA because I know they don't have a lot, but they like really helped me. I talked to a counselor. It's been great. So find ways to get unstuck is absolutely possible.
So what are some other moments after, obviously you had your club feet. What was the next point where you really had to face that major adversity?
Yeah, great question. So the one that stands out to me, because I think this completely changed the trajectory of the rest of my life. So when I got out of the military, I stayed in, I was living in Richmond, Virginia at the time, and I met a guy and ended up getting pregnant, which, you think, oh, super happy, but I wasn't, because I was in not a great relationship. And I decided that I was going to move to Arizona, to be with my family, because I was tired of being alone. Like I said, I was just miserable. And so quit my job. I was 3 months pregnant at the time, and drove across country with my mom and my dog and a U-Haul trailer strapped to the back of my truck. And we got to our last stop, which was in Albuquerque, and we parked in the back of a hotel parking lot. And in the middle of the night, so I believe in intuition. I believe that gut will tell you stuff when stuff isn't going right. And in the middle of the night, I wasn't feeling good. I had really bad heartburn. I said, you know what, I'm going to go down to the truck and get some medicine. And it's like probably 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And so I go to walk down and I get down the elevator and I could take a right and go to the back door and my truck would be right there. Or I could go to the left to the front desk. And I say, you know what? It's really cold outside. Let me go to the left and go see if they have any at the front desk. They did. So I did not go out to my truck. The next morning I wake up and I take my dog out to go to the bathroom and I come face to face with my truck and I'm like, man, something's missing. What is missing from my truck? My trailer with everything that I owned, including everything that I had gotten from a baby shower for my unborn child. So I had my pajamas that I was wearing, and that was it. And talk about low. I mean, my life was just like carpet just pulled right out from underneath me. I had no money. I was broke. And the father of my child didn't care. Like, he had some stuff in the trailer that he was very upset about. So that was his concern. So here I am left in Albuquerque with nothing. So we got back to Arizona. Thankfully, my mom helped me, get a couple of outfits, and we get back to Arizona. And I'm just like, man, like, what am I gonna do? Like, here I am. I need to bring a child into this world, and I was very big on not having any stress while I was pregnant because I did have a high risk pregnancy. But I mean, it's hard to not be stressed when you have nothing to your name. And so, I got back here and I felt like my life was just tumbling down. My dog that I've had for, at that point, 6 years, got really sick, couldn't walk. It was just a never ending thing. I ended up getting put on bed rest with my pregnancy. And I'm just like, man, like, can anything else go wrong in my life right now? And that was the mindset I was in until one day I was at work. I was working at USAA at that time, and I talked to a lady on the phone who just lost her husband. And we were going through all of her stuff, and she made a comment, and she said, she was older, she's probably in her 70s, and she's like, it's sad when you lose somebody, but you have to be thankful for what you do have. And I was like, okay, like, I got you, Lord, I'm listening. And I went home that day, and I was staying with my parents because I didn't have a place really to live at the time. And so staying with my parents, and I was like, man, like, I need to be thankful for what I have. Like, I have a healthy child. I am somewhat healthy, like, minus the little pregnancy stuff. And I said, and I have a great family. Like, the stuff, yes, all my military accommodations, it sucked because I will never get those back. But I have so many good things here that I need to be thankful for. And that turned my mentality around. I ended up buying a house. I replenished all my stuff. I got into a couple of the veteran like volunteer groups and started volunteering with them, and they helped me out like in furniture and stuff. And I mean, it was crazy when I turned that mindset, how differently my life looked. It was almost like a new lens was put onto my life. And so then after that, I slowly just started rebuilding my life, and I appreciate things so much more. Like, everything I have, I appreciate it because I know what it feels like when you don't have it. So that was, a big thing in my life. And it's still, still to this day, when I find myself feeling a little entitled to things, I'm like, Brandie, like, no, like, your life is great. You don't need anything else. Yes, you work hard, but you don't need anything else. Be happy with what you have, live simple. Life is good.
It's funny how sometimes those material things will actually set us back and give us a whole new perspective. Right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And it's, and I was a materialistic person before all this happened. And I wanted the nice things and the expensive furniture, and I wanted all this. And then I was so grateful when people would donate, like, here, I have a full-size bed that you can have. And I was so grateful. And I'm like, I don't care what brand it is. I don't care that it's 10 years old. It's a bed to sleep on. Like, this is awesome. And it's that just mind switch is so crazy and so important, especially when you're in a rut.
So when you speak on resiliency, what is your main takeaway? What's your message?
My main takeaway is your mindset. So being able to resiliency, you cannot have resiliency without a positive mindset. If you are stuck in a negative mindset, you're not going to go anywhere. It's almost like quicksand, right? Like, you're starting to walk through it and you're like, okay, like, I'm fine being negative. And then the more negative you get, the more that you're going to slide down because you're working harder. And I believe if you are positive, you're going to be able to overcome anything. And I mean, anything in life, you can overcome it no matter what bad news you get. Be thankful that you're alive. Be thankful that you're breathing. Be thankful for who you do have and what you do have in your life. And, nothing can take that away from you. They can't take that positivity away from you, no matter what happens.
The first couple Unstuck Happiness conferences, we had a quicksand pool that we used as a demonstration at the event, which was so awesome, but so messy.
Oh, I'm sure.
So time consuming, which is why we don't do it anymore. But yeah, it was a little kiddie pool filled with cornstarch and water.
Mm-hmm.
And so it has those properties where it's like a liquid goo, but if you shock it, it turns to a solid.
Interesting.
So you were able to actually run around on top of it without sinking at all. But the moment you stopped, you would sink. And so we would have people get in and run around on top of it and say, okay, as long as you keep moving, everything's fine. But the moment you stop, you start to sink and you get stuck.
Yep.
And then, of course, the first thing people do when they get stuck is they panic and quickly try to pull their leg out. Well, what that does is it shocks it again and turns it to a solid. So now they can't move their leg at all.
Mm-hmm.
You had to actually move slowly. So it was pretty cool analogy that as long as you keep moving, you won't get stuck. And then when you do get stuck, when you panic, you make it worse.
Yeah. And I think you made a good point of moving slowly to help you get unstuck. It is a process. There is nothing that will happen overnight. And it may take you going down further in the quicksand before you can come back up, and that's okay. And be okay with that. And say, you know what, today I made a little progress, and be okay with that result. When I was earlier last year, when I was just not in a great place, I would get frustrated at myself. Like, well, you didn't do anything today. Well, at that point, if I got up and got my daughter dressed, I did something. And those are things that, yes, they're small, but it's progress. And it sometimes takes a little bit of momentum to get the wheel really going. And you have to just be grateful for whatever progress you can make.
Yeah. In fact, what I found is that when you're looking at your progress, that's when you get even more stuck at all. So and I'll look every once in a while, stop and look and see, okay, where am I at right now? And I start freaking out because no matter where I'm at, I'm always comparing myself to somebody that's further ahead.
Yep. Nope. Don't do that. Right? Don't compare.
Yeah.
Don't compare.
Well, we can say that, but we all do it.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
The problem though, the thing is when I'm looking future oriented, when I'm thinking about what can I create today that's going to make me better tomorrow, I never feel stuck.
Yep. Absolutely.
You can't be stuck in the future unless you're Marty McFly, right?
Right. Very true. Very true. And that's really good points. It's like, what can you do today to help yourself tomorrow? And even if that's just, hey, you know what? I cleaned my house today, so I wake up tomorrow feeling good and, clutter's not around. Cool. That's awesome. Good job. Yeah,
coronavirus hits and we're stuck everybody's stuck right now. We're stuck in our homes, right?
Yep.
And so, I can sit on the couch all day and Netflix binge, which I'm not going to say I haven't done any of it, but at the same time, I'm like, what projects have I been working on or what I've been thinking about that I haven't completed?
Yeah. Yeah. We've been really focused on a schedule. And not a super tight schedule, but something like, hey, I know I'm going to get up at whatever time I wake up and I'm going to go for a walk or go for a run or go for a hike. Then I'm going to shower because you always feel better after showering. And then I'm going to do some work for 2 hours and just give yourself a 2-hour little block. And we notice that we're now in this routine and it's nice. It's nice because we're not falling victim to, I just want to sit on my couch and eat chips all day. Sometimes I really want to do that. It's been good because then we feel productive. And even though we can't go anywhere, like it's nice to just be comfortable. And we're like, hey, we're getting stuff done and this is cool.
Yeah. This won't last forever.
No.
And so what can you do now to get you ready? I've been working on the Unstuck and Happy documentary for a couple of years now. And I've had a few weeks to just focus and get it done. So got that done this week and building stuff that, we can actually do as soon as this is over. And you and I had been working on doing an Unstuck in Phoenix.
Yes, absolutely. It's going to be awesome.
Was supposed to happen in March, and of course it didn't. So
yeah, but what? I think it's okay. Like I think it's going to be good, and we use this time wisely and to really make sure we're putting on the best event that we can, and everything is good, and it's going to work out, and I have a lot of, obviously I'm on social media, and I see a lot of negativity on there, and it's like, it doesn't help anything. It's not going to help you make money. It's not going to help you, be a good parent to your kids. I know it's stressful having kids home. I get it. You've seen my 3-year-old poke her head in a few times. And it's like, you have to look at the positive, because this is not going to last forever. Do what you can today to make tomorrow better, plain and simple.
The ironic part is the people that are struggling the most are the ones that are the least affected by it,
Yep.
It seems as though. So not to diminish anybody.
No,
But they're
no,
going
of course not. Absolutely.
Yeah. So what I think is that as soon as this is over, people are going to need resilience. They're going to need inspiration. They're going to need to figure out, because opening this city again does not mean that we're not stuck emotionally.
Yep.
There's going to be a lot that we have to work through. And so I think that having that event and just both of us out there speaking on our topics are going to be
absolutely
very important coming up.
Yeah. And I've been doing a few, live videos on Facebook, and just, here's what I'm doing to help my business. Like, what is it that I can help you with? And creating those conversations is almost like getting those wheels started. Just create those conversations with people. And if I've seen several business owners like, oh, this is so crappy, and I have no gigs and whatever. And I reach out to them like, hey, what are you doing to create passive income right now? Like, now's a great time. You're sitting at home. Create those courses, create those podcasts, like do videos, like get content out there, write content, write a book. There's so many things that you could be doing right now, regardless of what your industry is, to really get ahead for when we're finally able to break loose from this quarantine.
And that goes to everyone, not just business owners.
Yeah, absolutely.
How many people do I know have been through an experience that have always talked about writing a book? I've had a couple reach out to me and they're like, I'm ready to get coached now. How can I do this? How can I start sharing my story? And
yeah,
I was blessed to do a Moving Beyond retreat right at the very beginning of March. And it was for all the victims of the Vegas shooting, 91 concert. And it was just the most awesome experience for me, because I got to hear their stories. But then after that, I've had people contacting me since, both people that were there and other people that just saw it online. Like, I want to learn how to start sharing. I want to learn how to write a book, learn how to do this. So I created an adversity to influencer coaching program.
Awesome.
Where I can help you go from the emotional part all the way to launching a podcast or writing a book or whatever. And a huge demand for it now.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that people have been talking about forever. And I think that what's going to happen is when this is all over, they're going to open the doors and say, okay, everybody's free. And then we're all going to regret all the things we wanted to do during this time and we didn't.
Yeah. Yes. And there have been some things where we're a little bit slower on that. We're like, okay, we don't know how much longer quarantine's going to last. Like, let's get on the ball. So these are good to go. I know I'm helping a few speakers right now do webinars. Webinars seem to be like the thing right now, because why not? Like, you're home, use Zoom. And those are great. Like, anything that you can do to, grow your intelligence. So any courses, online courses you can take right now, any webinars you can be listening to. I mean, there's so many free things out there too that take advantage, put podcasts in your ear and just go work out, and you're learning at the same time as working out. So I think it's really important to take a step back, analyze what you're doing, and say, hey, these are the things I want to accomplish. This is how I'm going to do it. Get them done, knock them out. You're good to go.
So let me take you back to a year ago when you were in the middle of your depression, having lost 3 grandparents and feeling bad business and everything else at that point.
Yep.
What would you have said to yourself back then? Because I know there are people that are listening that are in the middle of it, that are listening to us talking about writing courses and books and movies, that are like thinking, yeah, right, not going to happen yet.
Yeah.
What can we do? How can we convince them that this is the time?
Yeah. So 2 things. So when I was back there, I wanted to talk to people, but I didn't know who to talk to. And everybody that I did talk to, they're like, oh, Brandie, you're good. You're strong. Like, you're going to pull through this and everything's good. You have this, and this going for you. But in my mind, it's like, yes, I know I have that going for me, but that's not helping me right now. That's not helping me pull me out. I needed somebody to legit just talk to and say, hey, let me just vent and get this off my chest so I can figure out why. Because sometimes, and I'll speak from experience, I didn't know what was holding me back. I didn't know that my grandparents' death is what actually was triggering all of this depression. I had no idea. to be very candid with you, did not know. And it took me actually going and talking to a mental health counselor to figure that out. Now, if I would have found somebody to talk to sooner, it would have saved me a lot of time being, depressed. So find somebody to talk to, and it doesn't have to be in your circle, because sometimes the people in your circle see something that you don't. So they see a different side of you than how you're feeling, and they don't know how to answer to that. And so their response is going to be like, oh, well, I can help you do this, this, and this. Well, that may not be what you need. Right. So obviously I am a big, in favor of going to a professional because they know what they're doing. But if you can't, and I know that there are free resources, but if you can't, find somebody to talk to that will just listen and let you just talk and go through everything, and don't have any fear of being judged, because it is normal. We all go through it. Some people can just handle it a little bit better than others, and that's okay. So that would be my first thing, is just don't be scared to talk about it. Second thing is just take those small steps. Get up and shower in the morning. Set your mind to one small goal each day to do, and do it. So if you are wanting to write a book, start small, start very small. Say, I just want to figure out the name of my book. Cool, that's done. Now you can say, okay, I want to start with my intro. Okay, write that. Start with those small goals, because when you do that and you start accomplishing things, your positivity is going to go up, and it's going to start that momentum, and you're going to get faster and faster and faster, because you're positive and you're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. When it comes to writing a book, if that is something that people want to do, something that we have, me and my mom, we own a publishing company. One thing that we like to do is we call it writing lab, where, excuse me, you do 2 hour, 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off, 25 minutes off, 5 minutes on. And then that way you're going, and you can take breaks, but you have 25 dedicated minutes of, this is what I'm doing for 25 minutes. And 25 minutes is not a long time. And when you start working, it goes quick. So find little rhythms like that you can say, hey, I can do something for 20 minutes. I can do something for 30 minutes. This is what I'm going to do for 30 minutes. Shut down social media, shut down any other distractions, and just write. So those would be my 3 tips.
Yeah. People ask me all the time, how long does it take you to write a book? And, honestly, I can probably crank out a book in 2 weeks, but it took me 40 some years to get the information to put it out. You have all the information in your head. You've lived it. You already know it. It's just a matter of getting it out on paper.
Yeah.
And it's such an intimidating process for so many people.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And if you're not intimidated by writing a book, then I don't think you're normal. Like, I think that's a beast, regardless of how big the book is. And I will say that, especially if you're writing about something that has happened to you or something very personal, you have walls that you have most likely put up around that stuff that you're going to have to kind of start taking down to openly write about it, and understand that people are going to read this. So, we've talked about like writing memoirs and stuff, and there's sometimes a block. So when you go to writing, you're like, oh, nothing's coming out. Well, you need to figure out what it is that you want to say. And if there are walls around that, you have to work that out.
In the speaking world, we say you never want to use the stage as your own therapy. However, in the writing world, absolutely.
Yes.
I think that when I wrote my first book, that's exactly what it was. I was at a point where I needed it. So I sat down and started putting it on paper. I'm like, what do I need right now? And what I needed was what ended up being what others needed as well, which is why it became a book.
Yeah.
But it started with just, there's nothing more therapeutic than the creative process. And especially when you can go back and with writing, you can actually address it. You can get into what happened, why it happened, what you're going to do with it, put it all on paper. To me, if you're feeling miserable and stuck, start there.
Yep. Agreed. And I know for me, I don't like to write. I am not a writer. That gene did not get passed down to me. However, I like to talk. And so I do videos, and then I send it to rev.com, and they transcribe it, and there's everything that you just said in writing that you can now polish into a book.
Right.
So I like that way, because sometimes when you're talking, it will just flow naturally, versus when you're writing, for people like me, or I get that writing block essentially. So I like to do videos or even just recording into your phone and then translate that onto paper.
And see, I hate video because I know that I can always stop and re-record. So 2 minutes of video, I will do 30 takes on where I'll sit and write a chapter. And I don't care if I mess up because I know I'll go back and edit later.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's a difference when it's a video that I am going to be posting on all my social media, then I am a little bit more critical of it. But if it's just me, just, hey, I just want to talk and this is what I need to get off my chest, then I don't care.
Yeah. Voice recorders, you do the same thing. You don't have to necessarily have the video if you're just trying to get information out.
Yeah. And I think on your phone, you can do the voice to text too. So that works also.
Just make sure that you have that edited before you send it out. Because
yes.
I know I've sent some text messages that have made no sense. I would hate to have that in a book.
Right.
But I think if you're feeling down right now, and a lot of people are, if you're feeling really stuck, because what ends up happening when we get in these moments where we're in solitude, we're isolated, we become very introspective and we start questioning everything in our lives.
Everything. Yes.
So most people aren't sitting at home wondering, about the coronavirus. They're sitting at home wondering about why their marriage failed or why their business isn't where they wanted it to be or why they don't have the families they wanted. And wait a minute, I think I'm using all this therapy again. That's
right. Just talking about yourself.
I know, right? Wait, what else do I know? But instead of thinking like that, just take some time and put it down on paper and you'll see you'll see the process and you'll start to see the hope for the future. Cause the book's going to have a happy ending, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so you kind of get to write that ending throughout the process.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a really good point. I'm a visual learner also. So like vision boards and just being able to visualize, like, what do you visualize your life being? And if it's not where you're at right now, what do you have to do to change that? And I think just putting an actual visualization on it can make the world a difference because you can see it and it's not just a figment of your imagination. You can visualize it. You see it like, yes, that's what I want. I want a house on property with horses and I see my daughter running out in the grass. That's what I see. And obviously I'm not there right now, but it's going to happen because I visualize it.
So give us your tagline. What do you tell people about resilience?
Be true to who you are. And don't let anybody else try and dictate your future.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That was actually the tagline on my first book. Don't let your circumstances dictate your happiness. So
yes. And that, I mean, it's all the same thing. I've spent some time like worrying about what other people think of me and, am I living my life the way that other people would be proud of? Like, it shouldn't matter if you're proud of who you are and you're staying true to who you are and being the best person you can be. That's all you should ask of yourself, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Very cool. So where can we find you?
You can find me at brandiebeane.com. I'm also on social media, and Instagram is just Brandie Beane. I keep it very simple. So there's only a few Brandie Beanes in the world, and it's Brandie with an IE.
Very cool. And what is the one thing that you're looking forward to the most?
I'm excited about my future, to be honest with you. Like, I am so excited with my little niche that I have going right now. I mean, I'm comfortable talking about what I can do, and I'm not trained really in like professionally trained in anything, but I have the heart and desire to help people be successful. And I'm just excited for that. Like, I'm excited to see how many people I can help. And I believe that God will, in return then bless me if I'm blessing other people. And I'm excited. The future is awesome. And I'm excited to get out of quarantine.
Yeah, I'm excited to get out of quarantine too, because I am excited to finally do this Unstuck in Phoenix and have people come out and hear your story live in person. So.
Absolutely. It's gonna be an awesome event. And, we'll probably, I think the fall would be better so we don't have to torture people with the summer heat. But, I mean, it's a dry heat.
There's air conditioning. We're not torturing them. We are giving them relief.
Right.
You get to come inside in the AC.
So. Yes. Agreed.
Absolutely. Well, awesome. Brandie, thank you so much.
Thank you. This was fun.
check her out and definitely come and see her at Unstuck as soon as we all get unstuck.
Yes.
We will let you know when that's coming. You can check Unstuck and Happy for updates on that. And we will see you next week. Thanks.
Yes, thank you.
Make sure you head over to unstuckandhappy.com where you'll find the video version of all of our podcasts, as well as information about upcoming Unstuck Happiness conferences and moving beyond personal development retreats. Those are amazing. Make sure you join us again next week for another great Unstuck story. And in the meantime, keep living unstuck and happy.